Man, okay, so this is one of those things where I look at it, I read it, and then I say, wait a minute, what are we talking about here? Yeah, like, of course, this is a thing that should happen if the opportunity was presented to the Montreal Canadiens, right? You saw the title, you saw the thumbnail, you know whom it is we're talking about. If this guy was available, and if the Montreal Canadiens were wondering, hey, should we go out there and target this guy? The answer is yes, obviously. Who would disagree with that? Because today, what I wanted to do was go over a recent article that was published earlier in the week from danslescoulisses.com that highlights a specific discussion that was made on BPM Sports Talk Radio. Now, it's kind of interesting, because the BPM Sports Talk clip is actually unavailable on YouTube now. The video is private. I wonder why. But articles that go out there and transcribe what is mentioned on these radio audio hits are still available on the interwebs, which is why I'm going to leave a link in the description to this piece published by Marc-Olivier Cook, calling Kevin Adams, Buffalo Sabres GM, for Tage Thompson. I'll do it tomorrow morning. Like, okay, what? Let's dive into what this article goes out there and proposes. Obviously, it's danslescoulisses.com, so it's a Montreal Canadiens-based piece. They're going out there and talking about the Habs. Cook writes here, all summer, we said to ourselves that the Canadiens needed to improve their center line. Kent Hughes acquired Zach Bolduc from the Blues to add offensive punch to the offense. Ah, great writing there. I'm sorry. I'm kind of mean sometimes. But Kent Hughes hasn't been able to fix that center problem. Even today, we still talk about the subject because it's true that on paper, the Montreal Canadiens do not have 45 high-quality players who can play in the center. Is that a lost in translation thing, or does it really say that? No NHL team has 45 high-quality center caliber guys. What are they talking about? Anyways, the article says here, on the Sabres, there's a player who could help in that regard. And without doing too much research, you can guess who I'm talking about. Tage Thompson, a guy who has had 2 seasons of 44 or more goals in the last 3 years in the NHL. So, the debate came back on the BPM Sports earlier this afternoon. Would you be willing to call Kevin Adams to get Tage Thompson? Marco D'Amico said he would do it tomorrow morning. But as D'Amico explains, making a trade with the Sabres, that would be more difficult, especially to acquire a guy like Tage Thompson. The Sabres will ask for the moon, and Kent Hughes does not want to part with a core player to make a big splash on the market. Cole Caulfield, Yuri Slafkovsky, Ivan Demidov, Hudson Dobson, these guys won't be traded. They're too important to the Canadiens' future, and the Montreal Canadiens GM knows it too. The only plausible solution is that the Sabres want to get prospects and picks in return for the big right-handed center. The Canadiens have guys like Michael Hage, Alexander Zhuravsky, Jacob Fowler, David Reinbacher, and they also have the luxury of first-round picks. Now, I'll just say this right here. The Buffalo Sabres have admittedly been starting to cook a little bit more the past few games here. I get it, they lost to the Maple Leafs in overtime yesterday, but before that, I mean, they had start to get on a little bit of a win streak. In fact, they've won 4 of their last 6, which is pretty good, I'd say. You've got guys like Zach Benson, Josh Doan, Tage Thompson scoring. It's been contribution from all in Buffalo as of late, so I'd say that right now, the vibes, if you want to go out there and think about trading for one of their top stars, maybe now is not the time to go out there and bring that discussion up to Buffalo or their fans. However, if the Buffalo Sabres fail to do anything substantial this year in the NHL playoff race, I mean, I get it, right now, if you take a look at the Atlantic standings, they're technically in there. They're tied for the wild card after all. But if the Buffalo Sabres fall out of grace and guys become available Tuck requests a trade like Elliot Friedman has suggested he might. Thompson requests a trade. That guy wants out. The Sabres decide to go full panic. Rebuild. Everybody is gone. You keep Dahlin, and that's it. You sentence him to a lifelong NHL career of misery in another rebuilding organization. Let's say that happens. Let's say Tage is available. If the Montreal Canadiens can make a trade go through without one of those top guys, a Caulfield, a Slav, a Demidov, Suzuki, Hudson, or a Dobson, if you can make a trade go through with literally any selection of anybody else, you do it. Sure, Hage, Zarovsky, Fowler, they're great, but if it takes the price of, let's say, those guys combined for Tage Thompson, I'm honestly pretty willing to accept it. I don't know, like, Tage Thompson's a 40-goal, 90-point guy on a regular old year. Things don't really go all too well in Buffalo sometimes, so he'll dip below that once in a while, but he's very capable of doing that and maybe even getting more if he's playing with better players. Not to disrespect the Tucks and the Dahlins and the guys that he is playing with, but if his team was a little bit more winning, I wouldn't be surprised if Tage Thompson could go somewhere else, be thrusted into a top role, and produce a little bit more. Especially if he finds himself in a team like Montreal, and let's say he's able to provide that really amazing net front presence role that Canadiens fans have wanted to see out of a guy like Juraj Slafkovsky these past few years. Demidov is now back on the first power play. So if you swap out Slav for Thompson on PP1, you just have Thompson right in front of the goal, maybe move things around a little. You can have him on that left side getting ready for a one-timer. Patrick Laine doesn't like one-timers coming from left-handed guys. Who knows if Tage Thompson is okay with it? He's been playing with Rasmus Dahlin this entire time. I think there's a lot of opportunity for what the Canadiens could do if this guy was available. The article then goes out there and says here that if a trade were to even be talked about, Kent Hughes is not going to empty his bank of prospects and picks to get a player who can help now. And the GM isn't going to budge until he knows what's going to happen with Sidney Crosby. It's not a part of his identity, and we know it's not part of his plan either. But maybe he should change his mentality too, because to receive, you have to pay. That said, the idea of adding Tage Thompson to the lineup is certainly appealing. Players of his style are non-existent in the NHL, and we're talking about a guy who would fit well in Montreal's top six. But it's true it would be difficult for Kent Hughes to dance with the Sabres GM. So yeah, I saw this article, it popped up on my feed, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, what the hell, yeah, like, of course you would go out there and make that trade. You saying, oh yeah, Tage Thompson's available. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't really want that guy. You're selling, yeah, well, I'm not buying. Like, in what world is this even a reasonable conversation to have? Oops, I guess I just made an 8-minute video talking about it on YouTube. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm part of the problem. Maybe that's a very self-reflective discovery on my behalf. But either way, this was talked about by the folks on BPM Sports Talk Radio. Tage Thompson and the Canadiens, yay or nay, what do you think the price would be if this guy was available from Buffalo and Montreal was indeed interested in acquiring this big, booming slap shot and that behemoth of a human being in Tage Thompson? If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you didn't, the dislike button's down there for you as well. Thoughts in the comment section below, because comments help out with the algorithm, and I'd really appreciate it if you got involved there. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.